My name is Kevin Ray, and you're listening to Truckers and Others. Welcome back, welcome back. I just got done getting unloaded over here. That's usually how these are going to be starting out. It's I just get I get a long drive, a long empty drive after I'm done doing one of these things. So that's usually when I try to start it. I don't want to start it in the morning and have it cut up and have to come back and everything. So I like to, if I have the time to record one straight through for about 2 hours, and I try to wait till I got the time to do that. So that's usually how these podcasts are going to be starting out. Got to the hotel last night. Not even night. It was 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I got out there really early. Brought my laptop with me because I knew I was going to be at the hotel for a while and I was going to have some time. And I've got a laptop. It's a nice older laptop. It's an older laptop, but it was top of the line back in the day. So it runs some video games really well that I got off of like Steam and stuff. You'd think I'd play like Trucking Simulator and stuff like that. No, I mean I do stuff like that, but I don't play Trucking Simulator. I've thought about getting it, but I don't know if you can't crash them. I mean, you can crash them, but they're not gonna like get damaged or anything. At least I don't think they are. And that's where BeamNG comes in the line. It's a video game called BeamNG.Drive, and it's so good. You got uh, a fictional version of a Peterbilt semi on there, and they got a few different trailers, but there's a modding community that people make mods. They put different grills and headlights and mirrors, and you can do different wheels and tires, and you can put a concrete mixer body, or just the possibilities are really endless. And I actually got in touch with a modder for the game that he posted up some pictures on one of them Facebook groups about the game, and I was like, dude, those pictures are awesome. Where can I get them? And he's like, oh, they're still being worked on and everything. And then he's like, well, what kind of trailer do you have? And then he sent me a picture, and he's got a ton of modded equipment that he's made. So I thought that was pretty cool. I got, he'll probably have them as paid mods on Patreon. But anyways, yeah, if you're curious about it, go ahead and look into that game. It's such a fun game. You got to have a pretty decent computer to run it, though. It uses a lot of computing power. And I got it's an okay computer. It runs it all right, but I got it on low graphic settings. And that's mainly so I can run like there's like a traffic button. You can add in traffic to the game, and it'd run fine without traffic, but I like to use traffic in there. It just gives the game a little. It's also there is a multiplayer version of it. Anyways, I don't really want to get into the weeds of what that game is and everything. I'm just come on, Jeep. I got a passing lane, and my lane is gone, and this Jeep is like, I'm still gonna make it around you. Okay, here we go. Yeah, I'm out on these 2-lane blacktops out in the middle of Oklahoma. Just got offloaded. Yeah, like I said, I got to the hotel pretty early. Brought my laptop with me, but I forgot my remote controller for it. You can play the game with the keyboards, like the up and down and side to side arrows and everything. But I got my controller set up so it's more of a regular old video game, and I forgot the damn remote. So it was a pain in the ass, and I played it a little bit, but and also I got down to the hotel quite early, and I thought about stopping at the truck stop on my way, but I didn't want to eat dinner quite yet. So I went ahead and just went to the hotel and got everything set up inside there, watched a TV show or so, and then got about 6 o'clock, hopped out, and the truck stop isn't that far away, but I also didn't stop and get fuel, so I went ahead and just drove the truck over there, got fuel, and did my regular thing when I get into that town, and got me my mushroom and Swiss burger. Oh, dude, it's so good. And then went back to the hotel and was watching some movies because I brought the video games to play them, and if I had the remote, I would have been playing them all night long. But I went ahead and fell asleep. I woke up at like 10 a.m. or 10 p.m. kind of freaking out a little bit, just trying to figure out what time it is and where I'm at and everything. Because usually I don't go to bed until midnight. But yeah, I was watching TV, and then I woke up at 10 p.m. and then I went back to sleep, and yeah, I'm not. I don't know. I have a dip in, so I fell asleep with a dip in, and every time I almost like to sleep with a dip in because I get some of the craziest dreams. If I don't have a dip in, I usually don't have dreams at all, or anything that I can remember at that even happened. But if I have a dip in, I fall asleep, and most of the time I'm going to have some sort of wild dream. And it's all slightly related to some stuff that I saw earlier in the day or the days before. And so I remember in the dream, there was like we're along a railroad. So I talked a lot about the railroad yesterday. We're along a railroad in a highway, kind of like off the side of a mountain, and a landslide came and it knocked out like the rest of the road on either side of me, and there were all these animals that came and they were like trying to attack people, and um, it was just insane. It was a crazy dream, and I do like those dreams. And but yeah, I woke up and then I went back to sleep. So once I did that, I realized, oh, this is a dream, and I was able to I was like, this is a dream. Instead of running from the animals, I'm going to run into the animals and get eaten and stuff. And it was one of the wild things. I don't know how anybody else dreams, but if I figure out I'm in a dream, and sometimes I do figure it out while I'm in there, and kind of crazy. You can kind of pick your own path. Otherwise, it's like you're just doing everything on instinct in your dream, and all the emotions are like kind of real and everything. But once you figure out you're in a dream, I'm able to relax a little bit and have a little bit more fun with it. Um, and then I wake up and I look over the alarm clock and it says 7. I'm like, what the fuck? So I hurry up and hop up out of bed, and I'm like, where is my phone at? And it's not plugged in. I don't know. I was probably watching Facebook or something before I went to bed, and it got pulled off the charger and under the sheets and everything. It was completely dead. And then I hurry up and I plug it in to make sure I'm not like getting missed calls from, I don't know. Not that I really thought I was going to have a call from like my boss or something, but I plug it in to just see if I missed anything. And of course, the wife had texted me. She's like, "Are you up?" And then another one came in. It's like, I called the hotel, but they wouldn't tell me what room you're in, and they wouldn't. I'm like, oh fuck. So, but I mean, it wasn't a crazy late morning to wake up, and I don't have anything to do today except for offload and drive home. So it's not like I gotta wake up extra early and get going, get going. It's not like that at all. Just a pretty chill day. Nice because it's Friday the 13th. I'd like to have a nice chill day today. You know, I saw Friday the 13th coming up. I'm like, oh man, it's gonna be a bad day. Well, so far it's just waking up a little bit late. I got out of the hotel, got in the truck, and left around 7:30, and then got to the dump site at 8:30 ish, which is a lot later than you really want to get there because a lot of trucks will back up and they take a while to offload. So then you'll fall really far back in line, and you could be there for a long fucking time. Not today. I got there and it was pretty much empty. Got pulled right in probably after sitting for about 30 minutes, about the shortest time you can sit there. Got offloaded, talked to the guys. They're working at the facility all in their spacesuits and everything. And hit the road. Working out pretty well for me today. Um, I've tried to think of things to talk about during podcasts. I usually like to let them just kind of flow as they go instead of trying to have a list of specific things I want to talk about. But I do have a lot of big stories that I like to talk about, and I've told them over the years so many times. But let me bring you back to when I was six. I had to have been 16, and some of these ages and timeline things might kind of interrupt if you're really being specific about it and listening to every single episode and trying to figure out my timeline. A lot of shit happens. And I don't, I've been knocked in the head quite a few times, so it's hard for me to really figure out exactly when things happen. But I know these things happen and around the time when they happen, but the exact order of events is kind of hard to figure out. I'll bring you back. I was working at a restaurant as a dishwasher, and I got that job with a couple other buddies that had worked there. They're like, "Oh yeah, you got to come over here, work with me. You can be a dishwasher." They were bus boys, and some of our other high school friends would show up, and we would just kind of hang out in the parking lot sometimes because that's where a few of us worked. And it was a nicer restaurant. It's completely gone now. But it was called Fritz's Bar and Grill, and it was kind of nice. It was like dark inside there. It's like a cool bar, and they had some really nice food to eat. I was dishwasher, so I'm over there scraping the plates and throwing in the big industrial dishwasher and everything. And I was, you know, nobody really knew that I chewed, but I was chewing the whole time on the job, which was nice because smoke breaks suck. It sucks to have to stop work and go take a quick smoke break and get your fix and then get back in. So I was just chewing on the job, and I got this one buddy that I was really good friends with in my neighborhood. I got him a job there also as a dishwasher, and we happened to both be working this one night. He said, "Hey man, when we're done here, which was a normal thing, let's go back to my house and we can play some Gran Turismo or Midnight Club or whatever game it was. It was on PlayStation 2, I believe." And so we went back to his house and we're playing games. one of his other buddies that I wasn't really friends with. He knew him from some other point in his life, but he was a lot older than us. He didn't get his driver's license till he was like 18 because he was scared of driving. Which I don't really know about this guy, but whatever. He's his friend. We'll hang out with him every now and again. And then one day he showed up. This was after he had got his license. After this particular day in work. He showed up at night and he had a Camaro, LT1 Camaro, like a 98 black. I think it was basically completely stock. There's nothing really crazy about it. Z28. So it wasn't the catfish style bumper. It was like the pointy bumper. And I'm like, dude, I love your fucking car. Like, this is badass. He's like, yeah, dude, it's fucking cool. Saved up a lot of money to buy it. Everything. Like, let's go drive. So we're driving around. One of his buddies calls him up, because they were a little bit older. They're like, come out to this party. And so we all go out to this party. I'm in the back seat. And this will be important later in the story. Yeah, if I'm riding with somebody, I'm always making sure my seatbelt's on. If I'm driving, I don't know. Back when I was young and dumb like this, a lot of times I would ride around with no seatbelt on. But if I'm ever riding with somebody, I always lock that bitch in. Because I just have those kind of trust issues. If I'm not in control, I want to at least know I'm safe. So I try to put the seatbelt on, and the little seatbelt thing, the little red button that it clicks into, is folded down, and I cannot get that fucking thing to rotate up so I can plug in the seatbelt, because it goes down into the seat. Them Camaro back seats aren't really made for people to sit, I don't think. So tiny back there. I could not get the seatbelt to fucking work. And he's like, it'll be fine. I'm like, all right, whatever. I'll ride with no seatbelt. It's okay. We'll have a good time. It'll be all right. So we go out to this party, and I was not into drugs, or I was a little bit into alcohol probably at the time, but I was not into drugs at all. Like, I was physically against people doing drugs of any type. I was kind of a country boy, and I was like, you drink, you don't do drugs, smoking pot, that's dumb. Go out to this party, and people are, doing some weird shit. We're not really having a good time. We all take a shot, though, of probably a Malibu rum. And, but that was it, like one shot. And then we're like, we got to get out of here. These people are getting weird. People are kind of poking fun at me and my other buddy that were a little bit younger than everybody else. So we're like, let's just go. So we leave and we go to this other gas station where the 18-year-old dude's girlfriend worked. And I don't know, hung out with her for a little bit. And then we leave and we're like, all right, let's head back to the house. I want to play video games. I don't know what you guys want to do, but I'd like to go back and play some video games, drink some Mountain Dews and stuff, have a good time like normal. So we're headed back, and there's this long road. It's not that long, but it's a long straight road. It's kind of uphill, depending on which way you're going. And they paved over the railroad tracks down at the bottom of the hill, and that's where we'd like ride dirt bikes and go-karts up and down this back road. And I did some other things I'll tell you about later on. But we went out there. There's this big parking lot in a business kind of near that road. And he's like, dude, this car is so cool. And he tries to do a donut, but he's got, I don't know, he's doing a one-wheel peel in a circle, and it's not really all that cool. It sounds awesome, and there's smoke everywhere. He thinks he's doing something cool, but we're like, dude, you're doing a one-wheel peel. Like, you're not doing it right. And so he's like, "Yo, fuck you guys. This car's badass." I'm like, yeah, I know it is, but he gets out on that long road and he starts at where the railroad tracks are paved over. So he starts there and he floors it down to the other end of the road. And I mean, we're booking. We are hauling ass. And at one point, I did look up to kind of just see how fast we're going, and it was like 130. We were going fast. Um, and then I lean back, or I tap him on the shoulder. I'm like, "Hey, man, this road's gonna end." He's like, "I know, I know." And then my buddy that also lived in the neighborhood next to me that hung out on this road all the time. He was sitting next to him, so I'm like, he's like, "Yeah, I know, I know. I'll tell him to slow down before we get there." All this happened very fast. It was all in slow motion for me, but I'm like, "Hey, man, the road ends. Yeah, we know, we know." And I sit back, and then I just see the flash of the red on the stop sign. I just catch it out of the corner of my eye, and I grab the seatbelt, or I already had the seatbelt in my hand, and it does not. I did not have the seatbelt hooked in properly because it did not work quite right. And I pull it up to my chest, and then, if you slap your nose real quick and you get that tingly feeling, I felt that, and then I opened my eyes, and all I see is stars. But they're not like stars when you get knocked out and all that twinkly shit. They're real stars up in the night sky. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I lean my head up and I look down, and one of my feet is kind of cold. It's just one of the first sensations I felt. I look down and I'm missing a shoe. And so I kind of sit up, and it's pitch black. Like I can kind of see a silhouette of trees, and there was a tree right next to me, like a little sapling tree. And I'm like, what the fuck? So I stand up and I hear music. And the dude driving the car, he had a PSP that had his music downloaded on it or whatever. And it's laying in the field right next to me. Just a PSP playing Seven Dust or Godsmack or Disturbed or whatever we were listening to at the time. And I'm like, that's weird. And I'm like, man, I'm really missing one of my shoes. And then all of a sudden, one of my eyes, I know I can't really see all that well, but I know I can't see out of my eye. And I don't know if I'm just now noticing it or what, but I cannot see out of one of my eyes. And I'm like, oh, fuck me. I don't even know who I am or where I'm at, really. I don't know what happened whatsoever. I don't really remember anything that happened before. So I just wake up missing a shoe next to a tree in the middle of the night and music playing on a PSP. So I start walking through the field and I see a car upside down and smoke coming from it. Nothing was on fire, but it's just got like a bunch of smoke coming from the car. And I start hearing somebody yelling Kevin. And at this point in time, I don't even know my own name. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. And so I start walking through this field, and it's full of ruts, like big ass ruts, and I'm falling down in all these ruts as I'm walking along. And I get up to a fence, and it's like a barbed wire fence, and I just hop over the fence. And then I start walking again, and then I fall into the big ass ditch. And then I climb up the other side, and I'm on a road. And the car is, not that far from me. It's probably 50 feet from me. And I still hear people yelling out somebody's name, Kevin. And I get up on the road, and I kind of look around, and I'm like, I I think I know where I'm at. I'm like, my buddy's grandma, I'm pretty sure my buddy's grandma's house is right down the road over there. And I'm pretty sure there's a highway down that way. So I just start kind of walking towards the highway, not giving a fuck about anything else that's going on. I got one shoe, one eye. You know, I feel like I've been fucking beat to shit. And I'm walking down the road, and then the name Kevin is getting louder and louder, and they're saying, "Slow down, slow down." And I look behind me, and these guys, well, one guy is chasing me. He's like running after me. And just then, it was like a light bulb went off that I have been here before. I've been in this same exact situation, and somebody grabbed me, and I woke up. And I don't know. I don't, at the time I didn't really know what was going on at all. So I just start running away from this guy chasing me. I am just booking it. He's like, "Slow down." And I'm just fucking running. I'm like, "Get the fuck away from me." you know, I don't know. It was just an instinct that I had to run and get away from this guy. I don't know who he is or what he wants. I don't know what's happening. And I get all the way down to the end of the road next to this highway. And there's a street light. It's just a highway, dark highway, nobody on it, and just a street light that I'm standing under. And my buddy runs up, and it's my buddy, I'll just call him B. And I'm like, "B, what are you doing?" He's like, "Dude, are you okay?" And I'm like, uh, "Dude, you're bleeding." And he's like, "Yeah." So I take my shirt off, and I give it to him. I'm like, "Wrap this around your head." And he's like, "Dude, you need that shirt way more than me." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "Dude, you're fucked up." I'm like, "Oh no." I'm like, "Do I have my eyeball?" He's like, "I don't know, man." I'm like, "What the fuck?" Like, holy shit. Like, things are really starting to come to me now. And he wraps the thing around my head. And then I reach in my pocket, and I had my flip phone at the time. And I open it up, and I call my parents. And we still had a house phone also. And I call, and they actually answer. And I'm like, "Mom, we're in a wreck." And I was right next to the street sign, so I could read the street sign. And I tell them, they're like, "All right, stay there." And I get off the phone, and I just feel something on my arm. So I look down at my arm, and there's a gaping hole in my forearm, like kind of underneath. It's not really on top. It's like off to the outside of my forearm. There's a giant gaping, bleeding red hole from me. And I'm like, "Oh no. Like, what is going on?" And then by this time, the driver of the car, I'll call him D, runs up, and he's freaking the fuck out. It was his fault, everything. And the street light just goes out. It was on a timer, I guess. I don't know, but it just goes out. And so we're standing there in the darkness, and I see some headlights rolling up the highway. So I'm like, "We need to stop this car." And so we run out there. We try to stop the car, but it just flies by us. And then we see a cop with lights on coming down the opposite side of the highway, the further side of the highway from us. He is flying, and we're like, "No, stop here." And we can't get him to stop. He flies by. And then another car's coming up, and I think I recognize it. It looks kind of like my parents' car. So I'm like out on the side of the road waving my arms. And yeah, it was our Durango with my dad driving and my mom in the passenger seat. They slam on the brakes right as they pass us, and then they back up. And I run up and I open up the door. And I'm like, "We got to go. We got to go." And they're like, you know, I love my dad. He's a great guy. He's like, get out of the. You're bleeding everywhere in the car. You need to get out. We got an ambulance on the way. Is what he was really trying to mean. But he's like, you're bleeding everywhere. Get out of the car. And then they're able to kind of look at us, and they pull the shirt off my head, and they're like, oh, geez. And I'm like, yeah, my arm too. And they look at my arm. They're like, is everybody else okay? And uh, my buddy B, he's like, yeah, I got a scratch on my forehead. I'm bleeding up here. And the other guy, he's like, yeah, my hands are all fucked up. Um, and the scratch on the forehead from my one dude is when he had his seatbelt on. When he released his seatbelt, he landed on the roof of the car and cut it on some glass. And the other dude, when he released his seatbelt, he got out of the car and he jumped the same barbed wire fence that I jumped, but he grabbed it right in the wrong spot and barbed his hands and his fingers and stuff, and probably, I don't know, scraped him up a little bit more. And the ambulance rolls up. The cop that passed us earlier comes back. I'm real cloudy on what happened exactly, but I know that eventually an ambulance pulled up. They told me to sit down. The police were there kind of talking to us. They pull out the stretcher. They get me up on it. They put me in the back of the ambulance, and we're driving to the hospital. And they are, the highway isn't the smoothest highway. And so they're trying to put an IV in my arm, and they just keep sticking me and sticking me. And then it's just like, I don't know, the hospital that we ended up going to was kind of far away from where we were. There was other closer hospitals and ERs and stuff, but they ended up taking us out to, I don't know, probably like 3 hospitals away. But they had me, they had me there. They knew I was going to be okay. At least the nurses did, or the EMTs. And there's a lot of road construction going on where I'm at right now. I'm currently cruising at 8 miles an hour around all this stuff. They've been working on these fucking highways for so goddamn long. Hopefully they're getting close to finishing. It's like, man, we're out in the middle of the desert. Y'all can't put in a freaking road. It's been 3 months they've been working on this road. I don't understand it. Anyways, back to the story. Get to the hospital, and they, you know, in the on the stretcher in the ambulance, they put a neck brace on me, and then we get to the hospital, and I don't know if I have the pictures anymore, but I used to have pictures that I took with my cell phone in the hospital, like all fucked up and everything. But yeah, we get there, and they're trying to clean up my wounds and everything. So the way I think it happened, the road is kind of curved. The road came to a T, is what happened. We're driving down this road, or up the road, uphill slightly, and it comes to a T, and the road that it comes to a T at is kind of curved. So it acted more as a ramp right at the stop sign. It acted like we ramped. We jumped the car, and we hit it was a sawed off telephone pole that was now a fence post, but it was pretty tall. And we slammed right into that fence post with the driver front corner of it, the driver front wheel hit that. But when the car was jumping, I'm pretty sure it was more front heavy. So it hit that telephone pole, and I smacked, on impact, I smacked my face into the headrest in front of me. As the car hits the pole and rotates, I fly out the back window of the Camaro, and it's a thick fucking window. I don't know if it was broken before, but I know that's where I went through. And I was ejected from the car about 80 feet, is what the police report says. And I landed on my back in a field next to a tiny little sapling in a field. And there was like trees along the road and everything. And then that's where I walked all the way through the field, all the way out to the road, and took it down to the highway. Going through the back window, I'm guessing that's when my forehead, it got caught on some glass or something, and it just basically scalped my forehead down. And why I couldn't see was my eye got completely full of blood when I sat up. And it's disgusting, but my eyebrows still fucked up. Part of the skin was flapped down on my eyeball and lid and it looked fucking gross. I probably should have gave you all the disclaimer before I went into this, but it's so bad looking, but it really wasn't that bad. It was just a flesh wound, and my arm got caught on something else, either when I was sliding on my back through the field or I don't know. But my arm got ripped open also. No ligaments, no bone breaks, nothing like that at all. It was just a couple of flesh wounds. It took, I think, 120 stitches and also some staples here and there to kind of get my put everything back to where it's supposed to be. Um, and I was in the hospital for a couple of days. They had me on a morphine drip. So yeah, I'm over there hitting that button every time I can, and that was really interesting. It's just like felt like somebody just put some hot blood in you, and you just get so warm. It was nice, and then you feel really good and woozy. And I remember a lot of people came to see me, but I don't remember all of them. But I do remember my uncle came up there and he snuck me in some food because all they would give me was ice chips. He snuck some candy in for me or something like that. And I remember one of my buddies, he had a pretty cute girlfriend. She showed up and she was wearing some like teal underwear and a short skirt. And where she sat down, I could see right up everything. Uh, I remember, obviously my parents being there and everything. Um, but I guess, all right, I got a little too ahead. Um, During getting cleaned up and everything, they were like, he's not going to be able to walk or he needs to stay in bed, so we're going to put a catheter in him. Found out what that means. They shove a tube up your dick hole into your bladder, and then you don't have control over your pee. It just comes out and goes into a bag next to the bed. So they get this bag hooked up. That was really interesting. Having my pants cut off of me with all these doctors, nurses, and my family in the room, just staring at everybody, putting a fucking hose in my dick, and I'm in a head brace, so I can't look, move, or do anything. I'm like, this is fucked. Yeah, it was not a good, probably not a good look at all. But they also wanted to cut my pants off me and cut my boots off and everything to make sure I didn't have any other injuries. Or I didn't have boots on. I had shoes on. I had one shoe on. I don't know where the other shoe went. And then they wanted to wheel me in for an MRI or CAT scan or whatever it was because I had some head trauma and I was ejected from a car at about 130 mile an hour, 80 feet. So they wanted to check me out. And I might be making this part up, but I remember they wheeled me in, and the hose that was going from my dick to the bag, and they also had like the IV, stand rolling next to the cart and everything. The hose that was in my dick got wrapped around the door handle somehow. Like when they opened the door and slid me in, the hose got hooked to the fucking door handle, and they started pushing me, and I'm like, ah! I go, ah! You're fucking pulling the wrong hose, and they fucking get me backed up so they can get me in the room. They're like, I'm so sorry about that. I'm like, holy shit, y'all are fucking me up. Like, the most painful thing about the whole process was getting the catheter put in, um, and probably even more pain of it just getting yanked out of my fucking dick by a door handle. Oh, it was so bad. And I go in the MRI thing, and they get me checked out. And then I get to, get into the like a regular room, and they're checking me, or people are coming in and visiting and everything. And that's when I saw that girl's skirt and everything. It was pretty. I was like, damn, this is cool. Come on back. Uh, so yeah, I, I was in high school at the time, and my work let me have some time off, obviously, and then I go to high school and I'm on crutches. No, I'm not on crutches. I was on crutches shortly before this for a different incident, but then I show up looking like, fuck, yeah, I got put through a meat shredder basically, and it was just a really cool story for everybody. But yeah, my eyebrow, they gave me money from the insurance to go get like plastic surgery and everything. No, I don't want no plastic surgery. They're like, well, you're gonna have pretty severe scars if you don't. I'm like, yeah, I know, it's cool. So I didn't go get anything done with that. Also, my hand has a giant scar in it, in between my thumb and my pointer finger, kind of a little bit above that webbing right there. There's a long scar on my hand, so it looks pretty cool. And yeah, my forehead, it's got like kind of a triangle shape, fucked up mess. You can't really see it anymore because it blends in so well, but it used to turn different colors depending on the weather. And my eyebrow is missing. It looks like I took a razor and kind of trimmed out the middle of my eyebrow. And then my arm has a giant half of a circle shape cut in it, but you can't see that with all my arm hair. And one of the strangest things, pretty sure I've heard of something similar from somebody else, but the hair that I'm missing in my eyebrow, I'm pretty sure is now growing on my underneath my left breast. Yeah, it's so weird. There's just like a weird little patch of hair that showed up after that. And I shave it off all the time. It just keeps showing up. It's like my eyebrow hair now grows in the wrong spot. It's like the same exact hair, the same exact, that looks like what part that's missing. It's growing right there. It's just kind of strange. I have a pretty hairy chest and everything, but I don't really get a lot of hair growing on my sides right there. That's not a spot that really grows hair. But there's this one little patch on only one side of my body that grows, that I like to say grows the hair from my eyebrow. It grows down here now. It's fucking weird. And yeah, but there's a guy at school that stole all the thunder from my fucking wreck, because he also was ejected from a pickup truck like that same week, or that same weekend, or whatever it was. He was, I'm trying to remember what his exact story was, but I'm pretty sure he was just out hooning around by himself. And he had this badass Duramax diesel, or no, it was a Cummins. Maybe it was Cummins, I don't know. But he was flying down these back roads in a southern town next to where we grew up, and he hit the ditch or something, swerved a deer. I don't know what it was, but he ended up flipping the truck and being ejected on one of the rolls. And he says that when he opened his eyes flying through the air, and he went right over a white picket fence and then landed, and he got fucked up from it. He's very lucky. I'm very lucky. We're both very lucky to survive our incidents, but I mean, he was a little bit more popular than I was, so whatever. And, um, yeah, so there's another story before all this happened. That the winter before this, which I don't know when this. I know I can find out exactly the date and month and everything that the car wreck happened, but it had to have been like 5 months, 4 or 5 months before that. I was in a different accident. It was winter time. We were on like Christmas break, and yeah, I lived on a double roundabout or a double cul-de-sac road. So it's really no traffic, and it snowed a lot back when we used to get good snows. I don't know what happened, but haven't had a good snow in a few years, or a while at least. Um, but yeah, my buddy had a pickup truck, little S10, two-wheel drive, nothing crazy. But he liked to go drifting and stuff, and we would drift up and down my road because there's no traffic and no cars parked on the side of the road. But he came over to my house, and I tied a rope to the back of his bumper, and then we had these. They were actual sleds, but they were like trash can lid looking sleds. They were just a round disc, and you could sit in them. And we had two of those, and one rope, and one set of snow gloves. So we tied the rope so me and another buddy could both sled behind this pickup truck. We had one set of gloves, so I had the right glove, he had the left glove, and we're just going up and down the road having a great time. And we're not going fast or anything, and it's a lowered S10, so it's not like he's going to really run us over, whatever. Just having a good time going up and down the road. And then my dad gets home from work, and he's like, "What the fuck are you guys doing?" It's like, "We're having fun." He's like, "Y'all are going to get hurt. Don't do that anymore." And then he goes inside to do whatever. So I say, "You know what, guys? My dad ain't going to let us do this here. So let's throw all the shit in the bed of the truck, hop in, and let's go over to the playground at the elementary school." So we go over there, and we're just having the greatest time of our life. Now we're out there. It's flat ground, a big open area. We can really get some speed, and my buddy, pulling us, is just swinging us like crazy. The buddy that was next to me, he gets swung all the way around, and uh, he has to kick off the front tire. He almost got ran over by the front tire of the truck. Like he had to kick off of the tire and swing himself back around to the back of the truck. Me, I'm on the back also getting swung around, and he swings us really hard, probably the same time that he kicked off the tire. I just let go. I let go of the rope. I'm like, that's too much. I let go of the rope, and I'm spinning at a high RPM. But I know exactly where I'm headed, and I'm headed straight for this tetherball pole. Straight for it. So I tried to jump off the sled, but I'm spinning so fast, I just jump right behind the sled, and I'm still headed in the same trajectory. And the sled hits the pole, and then immediately after, I slam into the pole with my ass. Like I'm laying on my side, ass first, into the pole. And I'm like, oh, fuck. That really didn't feel good. And I hadn't ever really got hurt before this. I did a lot of dumb shit, but I never broke any bones or anything. So I was like, oh, man, that really hurt. And I'm like, I cannot get up. Like, this is weird. I have no use of my legs right now. I'm thinking I'm just kind of like in a little bit of shock. Like, let me just lay here for a little bit and I'll get up. It'll be fine. And my buddies, they eventually see me over there, so they stop and they get out. They're like, get the fuck up. And they're kicking snow in my face and shit. I'm like, brothers, what are you doing? I'm like, I can't fucking move. Like, this fucking hurts. So they pick me up and put me in the truck. And then since, I was off the rope, they make the rope longer and we just keep going around in circles, swinging my other buddy around in this giant empty parking lot or playground area because you could drive your truck back in there. And it did not feel good. I felt something crunchy, as we're, swinging back and forth. And I'm like, dude, I cannot go home. My dad just told us, don't do this because you're going to get hurt. And I'm obviously hurt. Let's go to your house and I'll just tell them stay in the night. So that's what I did. Call them. Hey, I'm going to stay the night over at my buddy's house. Okay, not a big deal. This was back when, you could it was pretty open parenting. They never really knew where I was, but I always had a place that I was and whatever. And so we go there and I go up into his bedroom and I'm like, dude, just let me lay down in your bed for a while and let me kind of sleep off this and then I'll be fine. And so they wake me up at, I don't know what time of the day it was, but I slept. I was out. And they wake me up at about midnight. Hey, man, there's a party. Let's go. I'm like, oh, fuck yeah. And I still can't, move. I'm like, dude, I'm still fucked up. He's like, dude, I got some crutches. I'll go get them real quick. So he ran down to his basement, grabbed his crutches, brought them up, put me up on them. And we have to sneak out of his house because his parents are also, they always know where we're at. Wink, wink. And we sneak out of the house and get into the cars and we drive out to I'm not going to give anything away, but we did some underage drinking. We'd all meet out. This was a normal party also. It was kind of like those bonfires, but this was way before those bonfires. I was the young guy doing the hey mister and everything. We'd all meet up at this gas station that one guy was 21 and he was friends with the attendant in there, and he'd pass around a notepad and you're supposed to put cash with the notepad and write down what you want. He'll go in there and he'll collect all the alcohol right in the middle of the open. Like, we're all in the parking lot literally passing around a list of alcohol, giving him money. He'd go in there, buy it all, and come back out. And then we'd go out to this dude's trailer. He lived in a trailer park not too far from town, and we'd all go out there and get hammered drunk all the fucking time. So we went out there, and my choice was always a little pint of whiskey, pint of Jack. And so I go out there and I'm smoking cigarettes at the time. So I had already gone through my chewing phase a little bit. I'm smoking a cigarette, drinking whiskey, standing on crutches on ice in front of this dude's trailer. And then more of the other guys were showing up to the party. They're like, what the fuck is this guy doing? They kicked the crutches out from underneath me. And I land right on my ass on the ice. I didn't drop my cigarette and I didn't spill a drop of whiskey. And I'm like, dude. They're like, oh, are you really fucked up? I'm like, yeah, dude. And I told them the whole story. And they kind of carry me inside and I sit down on the couch. And I'm like, what the fuck is moving around in this couch? And this was a shitty trailer. Just imagine a shitty trailer in a trailer park. How gross and disgusting this place is. Not all of them are, but this one fucking was. And I open it, I'd like pull the back cushion up, and a puppy comes out. I'm like, what the fuck? He's like, oh yeah, my dog had puppies a few weeks ago, and they dig into the couch and they bit holes in the wall behind the couch, and puppies were living in the walls of this fucking trailer. It was insane. Like, not cool at all. This place was so fucking gross. There were puppies living in the walls, and they would enter through the couch. It was so weird. And we had so much fun out there. Um, every now and again somebody would yell cops, and we would all fucking scatter like fucking ants, just running out and running through this trailer park, freaking out, being loud. And sometimes the cops were actually called, but most of the time it was just somebody thought it'd be funny to just yell that out and make everybody run away. um yeah, there was a lot of loose women out there too. There's this one girl, they called her Crazy Bitch, and she was pretty actually good looking. But I remember going in the bathroom one day to throw up because I had alcohol poisoning, probably. And I look over and she is just taking a bath. And I'm like, oh my goodness. But I'm like throwing up in a toilet. So I'm like, oh, hey, what are you doing? And yeah, she would just walk around naked most of the time. Well, not most of the time. Like, after she's had that amount of drink, she just run around naked and just rub her titties all over everybody. Is kind of exciting, especially for a young boy. And there's other guys. If somebody, they couldn't make it to the bathroom, they just go over. And this is a trailer, so all the vents are in the floor. Well, I mean, they're in the houses too, but I remember this one dude, he ran over and he threw up straight down the vent. It was so bad. It reeked the whole house. It was so disgusting. Other times you're walking by and there's this one girl, she's like, I love you. I'm like, I love you too. She's like, you want to make out? I'm like, yeah. And then we start making out. And when there's like this little, the stairs and the little, tiny little porch on the back end of the trailer. And I was like, let's go out here. And I throw up down off the stairs, and then I go straight back to making out with this chick. We were both fucking hammered drunk. And she was like trying to get me in the bed and everything. And I'm like, oh, you are way too fucked up for that. And I'm way too fucked up for that. I got whiskey dick. It ain't going to work. This ain't good. And I was also a virgin at the time. So I'm like, this isn't going to be, I don't want this to be, this is not how the first time should be. So it was just, she would, and then, I don't know, she like understood what happened, and I threw up and was making out with her. She ended up fucking trying to beat the shit out of me. Maybe it's because I turned her down. I don't know, but she was going fucking, this was not the crazy bitch. This was just a different bitch. She's fucking whooping my ass and everything. Other times we're out there, I had this other dude that's got this other crazy story attached to him, but multiple stories attached to him. And anyways, he brought this water bottle, looked like piss in it. And I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, this is that whiskey, dude. Or that moonshine. I'm like, oh, that's that moonshine. And we'd take sips of it every now and again over at his house. But he actually brought a bottle of water with it, or a water bottle full of it with him. And I ended up chugging this whole fucking thing. And it could have been piss mixed with just rubbing alcohol, is what it fucking tastes like. It was so goddamn disgusting. I chugged the whole fucking thing. He's all pissed off at me. And I seriously am fucked up after that. And I remember they had this one section of the wall that they built up with Bud Light cans, and they made it all the way up to the ceiling, and they were kind of like, I think they were actually gluing them together so it actually stay up and people couldn't just blow on it and knock it over. I run right into that fucking thing on accident. I trip over, a puppy or something. I don't know what it was. A drunk person on the ground. I don't know. I trip over it, fucking knock the whole fucking thing over. Everybody was pissed off. Then we got the main dude that owned or was renting this trailer. His name was Cowboy. I think I can give out that name. He was a big, fat, ugly son of a bitch, but he was so much fun, and he was so wild. But he was also doing a lot of pills and like cocaine and stuff. I was not into any of that. I was just drinking. We'd have keg stands and because they every now and then they'd get a keg, and it was just wild parties all the time. And I was sneaking out of the house to go to them. Remember, there was one day I needed a ride home. Nobody was willing to do it. I didn't have a car at the time either. I was really young. And I gave a guy $20 to give me a ride home. He's like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude, let's fucking go." So he gave me a ride home, gave him $20 for it. It was like 5 minutes down the road. And it was just a fun group of people. And this particular group of people, yeah, we partied at multiple different locations. This was just one of them. It's the first time I was around marijuana. Was at this place. We go outside. And I get in the back of a van, just like a uh, Dodge Caravan or whatever, with like foil on the windows and stuff. Looking back now, you could tell how sketchy that shit looks. But at the time, it was just like, oh, that's what's his name's car. Let's just hop in there. So I get in the back of this van, and they got a Gatorade bottle with like a straw from a gas station put in the lid of it. I don't know. They made like a little bubbler bong out of it, and I tried to do it, but I didn't even know how to really inhale. I didn't understand how to inhale. It was totally different than like smoking a cigarette. Is what I remember. I was like, oh, it's not like a cigarette. You got to actually like pull it into your lungs and hold it. And smoking a cigarette is just like, oh. But no, it was, and I don't know. I don't think I even smoked it right. I don't remember ever getting high or anything like that. Um, yeah, it was fucking insane party over there at that place all the time. And it's funny because now I live a lot closer to that place, and I've actually had friends as responsible adults with children now. I've had friends living there. I've gone over there. I'm like, do you know I've died at that that spot multiple times. They're like, what? Like, yeah, I used to party as a 14-year-old over there. I died there a couple times. It's fucking insane. Um, yeah, it's just a wild fucking time. Tell you about the Moonshine Boy. This dude was kind of literally insane. He did some really dumb shit, and he was a skinny, ugly motherfucker. Teeth rotten down to the core. He had a rich dad, and his dad ended up hooking up with some. You could tell she was probably a gold digger, but she loved horses. So they owned a ranch, and we'd go out to the ranch every now and again, and they had like the bunkhouse. Now that I'm watching like Yellowstone and stuff, it makes more sense. But I'm like, what the fuck is this house doing out here? And he's, oh, that's the bunkhouse for the cowboys. And I'm like, shut the fuck up, you fucking idiot. Like, that's not real. But now that I watch Yellowstone, now it makes a lot more sense of what that house really was. But it was just, they had their house, which was really an interesting house. It was like, most of the house was sliding glass doors on the outside. Like, you could open up the whole damn thing. It was so weird. And it was you could get lost in this house. You got to go upstairs to get to this side of the house, but you got to go back downstairs, over, up these stairs, and over and up to get to this other part of the house. And it was just a weird type of house, but I loved it. It was just felt so cool being at that house, staying the night out there after partying and stuff. And also, I did work with him because it was on a ranch. So, yeah, every now and again, I'd help him stack hay or feed the horses or whatever. Um, but yeah, they had the house, they had the shop, which was just like a 2-bay garage, but they had a lift in there and all kinds of other equipment. Then around this long, weird-looking driveway, there was another the bunkhouse. They had horse pens set up all over the place, and then they had the big barn out back. And there was a big spot, and that's where we had most of our bonfires out there, was right next to the barn. And then it opened up to a giant field that was kind of split by this creek, and we'd go off-roading out there, and it's just a really cool place. And this dude was wild as fuck. He had a rich dad. He was able to do whatever the fuck he wanted. He had Mercedes Benz cars and stuff, and not maybe they weren't the nicest Mercedes Benz. At least his wasn't. But yeah, I used to party with him, and this same group of people would go out there every now and again and party. But he started getting wild. Like, he had guns and stuff, and he was getting a little crazy with guns. Like, I'm so surprised nobody got shot out there. Yeah, went out there for one bonfire one night. So I'll tell you the story of how I met this one girl. I'm driving to. This was also a different job I had. I don't know. But I was heading to go be a busboy at a totally different restaurant. Oh, shit. Was I speeding? I might have been speeding. So we'll see what happens if this copper wants to come out and get me. Nope. Ain't gonna let me go. I'm really surprised. I've never been pulled over out here. Anyways, that was kind of. I really thought I was going way over the speed limit right there, but I guess it wasn't enough for him to pull me over. He's looking for cars, I'm guessing. Anyways, it's getting hot in here. Yep. He ain't coming after me. I'm headed to work with this, and then this girl calls me up, and she's like, "Hey, Devin," I'm like, "Not, I'm Kevin." She's like, "Oh, I thought your name was Devin." I'm like, "No, no." I'm like, "Who is this?" And she says her name. I'm like, "Oh, you are actually talking about my buddy." She's like, "No, I'm talking about you." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then I'm like, "Oh, I'm headed to work, so I'll talk to you later." So I get off the phone with her. I'm like, "What the fuck? Who is calling me?" And I remembered that I let one of my other buddies that had a name really similar to mine, and he was a flirtatious dude. He was always calling girls and stuff, and he borrowed my phone, and he ended up trying to get a hold of this chick. Well, anyways, I'm headed back from work. I'm off of work, and I call her up. I'm like, "Hey, this is Kevin." She's like, oh, hey. I'm like, you want to hang out? She's like, yeah. I'm like, all right, where do you live? And she tells me, and I'm like, all right, I'll be over there in a little bit. There's a coyote running across the road. He got him a little snack. Um, so I head over to this house, and uh, I was probably still around 6. Well, I know I had to have been closer to 17. Anyways, I was probably 16 at the time. So my birthday's in later in the year, so the way it matches up is kind of. Anyways, so I go over and she's like, "Yeah, just park over there." So I park, and then all of a sudden, out of the darkness, this chick comes up, and then a smoking hot chick runs up, and they're like, "Hey!" And we get in the truck, and the smoking hot girl gets right next to me. I'm trying to figure out which one I was talking to. And I find out, yeah, it is a smoking hot girl, and she's just got her friend, her fugly little friend with her. And I go out, I'm like, yeah, there's a bonfire. You want to go to it? She's like, yeah. So we go out there, and everybody at the bonfire that knows me, was very surprised at what I had brought along with me. They were not expecting me to bring anybody. They knew I've had girlfriends in the past and stuff, but they were like, "What the fuck is he doing? Who is this?" And they're all trying to step on my toes and everything, get up in there. But she is like dead set on me, and I'm pretty passive, so usually if that happens, that's just the way it happens and whatever. But no, she was dead set on me. She was not after anybody else there. She wanted me, and I was really surprised at this. She's like, why don't we find somewhere a little quieter? So I end up taking her out to the middle of this field. We just kind of lay down, and we're doing some stuff, and then we go back, and she's like, yeah, we need to go home or whatever. This is like a fucking dream. None of this happens in real life for anybody. I don't know why this happened to me, but it did. So we go back to her house, but not quite to her house. She wants me to pull off at this park. So I pull off at the park, and her fugly little friend, they whisper together, and then her fugly little friend gets out, runs up, hangs out next to the swing set or whatever. I don't know. And then this chick just pulls her top off. She's like, "You got a condom?" I'm like, "No, no, I'm never prepared for this. I don't know what's going on." She's like, that's fine. We can play or whatever." And we start getting into some explicits, and oh my goodness, does she look good? And I'm still like, I hadn't really made it past making out really in the past, and it's just insane what happened. And then, um, so anyways, I end up telling my buddy about her and everything. He's like, "You fucking stole my girl and everything." I'm like, "No, dude, it was just happenstance, the way it happened, and she's really into me and everything. I don't know why, but she is." And I was actually pretty fit at the time. I was in high school doing weight training and stuff. Like, my metabolism was fucking working its ass off. I had like a six pack at one point in time. I don't know if it this time, but I was muscly. I looked good, and I had a whole head of hair. um, but I was still like a nerdy, awkward type of guy. Um, then I'm starting to tell people about it at school, trying to show off and stuff. And then they're like, "That's what's his name's sister." I'm like, "Who?" I'm like, yeah, it's what's his name's sister. She doesn't go to this school. She goes to like a private school. I'm like, oh. And come to find out, her brother is a much older guy than me, and they called him Roid Rage in high school because he was like captain of the football team. He was full of fucking muscles, and he'd gotten in trouble for like beating people up and shit, like. And I never met the guy, and I nothing ever happened, but I did my best to always avoid, if I ever saw him or anything, I avoided his ass like the plague. It was a wild fucking time. Um, more shit happened. I end up, I end up meeting the girl after school every now and again, and we never had coitus or anything like that. We were just mainly making out and playing with titties and stuff. I don't think she ever whipped out my dangling or anything like that. So, but it was just, you know, having a great time kissing this girl. Then there was one time she wanted me to meet her at her house. She said, my mom's gone, so you can just come on over and hang out. So I come over and I open up I knock on the door. She answers it. She's like ready to drag me in, and then her mom pulls back in the driveway, and she's like, "Oh, are you looking for?" I'm gonna call him Roid Rage. Are you looking for Roid Rage? I'm like, "Yeah, yeah." Oh, he's still at work. I'm like, "Oh, okay." She's like, "Yeah, you just head on over there." I'm like, okay. So I go out and I get in my truck and I text the girl. I'm like, that was a close one. She's like, yeah, just give it a little bit of time and my mom will be gone soon. So I had a pretty distinct truck at the time. I was 17 and I had a giant brush guard on the front of my truck. It was bright green. I had stickers on the front windshield and a big lights on the back and everything. It was a very distinct truck. You can't really mistake it for anybody else's. um, so I drive off around the corner and I park and I'm kind of waiting and I'm like, this isn't gonna. We'll just hang out another time. That we almost got caught and everything. She's like, she's leaving right now, so she left. And then I'm like, okay. She's like, yeah, just pull in front of my house and I'll run out, hop in your truck, and we can take off. So I pull in front of her house. She runs out, hops in the truck, and then we start driving. And then I'm like, your mom is following me right now. She's like, what? And I look behind me, or she looks back there. She's like, oh, fuck. And yeah, her mom is like chasing me through these neighborhoods. I got the girl. I'm like, get down. Can't let her see you. And I lose her because I'm played a lot of Grand Theft Auto, so I know how to fucking drive. Not really. But I'm flying through this neighborhood and I eventually lose her, and I'm like, you gotta go, you gotta go. So she gets out and she runs through backyards, gets to her house, and her mom is still fucking chasing me. But now I don't have to stick around the area, and I fucking haul ass and I get out of there and I'm gone. And yeah, yeah, it was a fun time while it lasted, but after that, they had her on lock. They took her cell phone away, and it was over. It was over. Never saw or talked to her again. But it was a wild fucking time. Tell you what, it was fucking cool. That's why I'm thinking she was at private school. She was just promiscuous. So she was at an all girls school, I believe, is what I never really talked to her about how that worked out, but yeah, they put her on lock and I was gone. But I also looked a lot older than I was. I had like a beard not really a beard, like a little goatee and a mustache and stuff. And so I looked older than I was, and if they had known how old I was, it would, because I think she was like 16, so we were only like a year or months apart. Like it wasn't crazy, but they really locked her down and didn't let her get out of the house or whatever. Don't really know. Never talked to her again. It was just a wild fucking time. But that happened at that one place where that one dude's ranch is the first place I messed around with her. It was a wild fucking time. We got the fire department called on us all the time because we had giant fucking bonfires out there. Um, and they'd come out there and they're like, well, we're going to put it out anyways. And they just fucking hose down our whole party and everything. We did. I wasn't out there too. I mean, I went out off roading out there and stuff, but I wasn't out there quite often for the off roading part. But a lot of other people were. Just happens to be times that I wasn't there, and they had a boat or like a canoe, and they tied it to the back of a truck. And they had a lot of fun out there in the field, fucking around. Um, that dude was a little weird later on in life. You know, we weren't really hanging out. Oh, there's another sheriff. Just passed me up. How fast am I actually going? Because my speedometer has got to be off. Because if I'm doing 10 over, they're fucking after my ass. You would think. Let me just see it. If I use the GPS, I got the speedometer on the GPS, and it can tell me. I'm only doing maybe 7 over, is what it really translates to. I guess that's not enough for them to worry about. I don't know. I should probably just set the cruise and not fucking get pulled over. Um, trying to think. Another party place was, I don't think I mentioned it before, but there was my buddy's grandma owned a farm. Like, I don't know how many acres of a farm, but it was a pretty decent sized fucking farm. And her, his great uncle and some other family members, they owned a lot of land out in this one area. And they were all right next to each other. So, but his grandma's farm is where we would go. She had a really nice house, and then it had a whole addition added to it that was a pool room because they all like to play pool. And once I mean, we weren't old enough, but we would go out there and party all the fucking time. Her grandma, they'd like to sit around, play cards and stuff, and they would let us smoke cigarettes in there and drink as much beer as we want, and they wanted us to stay the night and everything. But a lot of times we wouldn't. I don't think I covered this at all. I think I was telling somebody else about this. Uh, Anyways, we're out there having a great time all the time. This is usually a weekend thing, though. It wasn't like it during the week, like some of the other shit. But on the weekends, we'd go out there, and you just show up out there, and there's always something going on every fucking weekend. Whether it's just grandma, his mom, and his aunt hanging out playing cards, they were really cool people too. So you just go out there, and everybody was like part of the family. It kind of felt like you go over there, and they're willing to take care of you and let you stay and whatever you need to do. But we did some bad shit out there, and that cow's about out of the fence. Speaking of cows, we were all drunk one night. There had to have been at least 20 of us. And I'm like, let's go cow tipping, guys. Because they had a bunch of cows. And they're like, yeah, this is a good idea. So we creep out of the house and we're trying to be quiet. We're not quiet at all. And I see a figure in the field behind the barn. So I'm like, there's one right there. And we kind of creeping up as loud as we can possibly be, but trying to be quiet, you know. And we get up to it, it's a fucking hay bale. I'm like, shit, round bale. And so he's like, no, we're on the wrong fucking field. It's the one over there, over on his uncle's side. So we go over there and we all hop the fence, and there are cows out there. But they aren't fucking asleep. They're all just standing out there eating grass and stuff, just hanging out. And we're like creeping up to them. And uh, one of the guys jumps the other fence, and they found out that's where some of the bulls were. So he's over there freaking the fuck out, running away from a bull, which probably wasn't even a bull. I don't know what it was, but he freaked out and was running, jumped the fence into the field where all the main cows were, where we were, and he started a panic among 20 drunk people and a herd of fucking cows. And we are all just running away from everything, and we're all trying to jump over the fence, and the cows knocked the fence down. Maybe we knocked the fence down. I don't know, but it was a fucking panic. And all the cows get out in the middle of the night. They're fucking out running because we scared them all or whatever. And it's just like, oh shit. That was the party still happened after that, but not as often. You know, and with a little bit more supervision from people. The uncle had to, the great uncle or whoever it was, had to wake up and go out there. We had to try to round up these cows and stuff. Pretty sure I was with one of the people in the crowd that just kind of left. We're like, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, let's just get out of here, man. And we had to leave. And they eventually got it all figured out. Another time we went across the road to a different family member's field, and it was around 4th of July. So we all had fireworks with us, and we're just throwing fireworks at each other, you know, rockets and stuff, just shooting each other with this stuff. And the field, it was just dirt. It was just been plowed or something. No seeds, nothing. It was just an empty dirt field. So it wasn't going to catch on fire. At least we were hoping it wouldn't, and it didn't. But one of the friends that we were with, he's a wild man, and he was grabbing mortars and just lighting up these giant mortars and tossing them at people and having giant fucking explosions and shit. And I think we actually did cause a little bit of a fire because the owner of the field was very, very upset at all of us. And we all had to go over there the next day and apologize and clean up all the litter that we put in the field and everything. And I don't know if a fire did happen, but I know we all got in a lot of trouble for it. Trying to think of other times we're out there. Now there's like one party out, at least one party that people are really invited to now that everybody's a lot older and has families and stuff. Now there's one party out there that I know of a year, and it's just my buddy's birthday. And we go out there, and everybody brings trailers full of wood and yard waste and stuff, and they light it up, and it's a giant bonfire. But they're really mellow now. Now everybody's got kids out there and stuff. Some people will bring a 4-wheeler or something, but and it's good to catch up on people. It's like a little reunion every now and again. See what everybody's been up to. Um, yeah, a lot of parties over there. I was a party man. I just happened to fall in with the groups of people that were constantly having parties. Um, And luckily, I don't really drink a lot. I mean, whenever I do drink, it's usually getting hammered drunk, but I haven't been drunk in a while. I think I got drunk on vacation. And I was at elevation, so it really didn't. I didn't plan on getting hammered drunk, and I didn't really. I just got quite tipsy, really quick, out there in Colorado. Um, yeah, pretty mellow now. Last time I remember getting really drunk, I blacked out, and this was before kids, so it had to have been 5 or 6 years ago. I got hammered drunk and passed out. I am a Fireball guy. Uh, I found out. So you buy a big ass bottle of Fireball, and I found a bunch of shot glasses, and we're just having like a kind of a small friend gathering, and I'm pouring all these shots of Fireball, and I only had one buddy that was willing to do shot for shot with me, but I ended up, I'd pour 5 shots, we'd do a shot together, and then I'd drink the other three. And I ended up getting blackout drunk there and confessing my love to my wife and everything. But then other people started fucking with me and ended up throwing up in the bathroom and stuff. They had video evidence of everything that happened that night. I specifically remember when I blacked out. I just took it like my third line of Fireball shots. And I'm like, and then it was just, I don't remember anything after that. And I wake up the next morning, I'm like, I feel great, actually. This is weird. And I'm trying to tell the wife, because we slept over there. I'm like, yeah, I feel great. I'm surprised I drank as much as I did, and I feel fine. She's like, are you fucking kidding me? I'm like, what? And she showed me all the videos, everything. I'm like, oh no, that's me. She's like, yeah, you were just being annoying to everybody. I'm like, oh, well, yeah, that's going to happen when I get hammered drunk, so whatever. But I didn't cause that big of a fool of myself, and I didn't do anything I regretted. But my friends really like to fuck with drunk people, especially me, because I'm just a happy person. I don't really get upset about much. So they like to fuck around with me. They're like, I don't know, pretty mild stuff these days. There was one time people were shoving some part of their body onto another person, and I was like, this is way too much. And they got into a giant fight. One buddy passed out, another guy basically rubbed his balls on his head. Not fucking cool at all. And the party kind of ended right after that. And then the next day, the one buddy heard about what happened and fucked the dude's truck up. Like, took a big metal bar to the entire truck. Like, headlights, taillights, all the windows, mirrors, every panel was dented and bent on this truck. He fucked it all up. And, you fucking deserve it. You rubbed your fucking balls on this dude. And that's the wrong dude to fuck with. Like, no, you don't fucking do that shit. But he never found, I don't know how, but he was so baffled on who would do this to my truck. It's like, everybody knows, but we ain't telling you. Um, I also really like going on float trips. I've been on quite a few float trips, and they are the most fun I've ever fucking had. Yeah, go out there. You're camping the night before. Usually on like a Friday night, you're camping, having a good time, but you don't want to party too hard that night because you got to get up really early in the morning, catch the bus to go up the river. You know, you got to pack all your fucking shit and everything, get on a boat, and then you float down the river for, I think we did a 10-hour, we usually do like an 8 to 10 hour float or whatever. They have shorter ones, but that's usually, I think that's, we usually try to do the long one. Um, and yeah, go up the river, get on the boat. Sometimes that's how it works out. Sometimes you float from your campsite, or sometimes you float from a different point in between or whatever, and you float down and you got to take a bus there and back instead of taking a bus up the river, floating down to your campsite, getting off, and you're done. Those are the ones I prefer. But there's one that we went on. I went with my buddy's family, and they are straight up rednecks from out in the middle of nowhere, and they have a really good time. They know how to party, and they fuck shit up out in the middle of nowhere. Uh, go out them, and I'm a silly guy. They don't really have silly people where they're from, which is, I don't know. To me, that's kind of odd. They don't have silly people. They have people they get really drunk and do dumb shit, and they laugh at. But they don't have anybody that's like the funny fucking jokester running around having a good time. And that was me. So, and I was really good with the family. I actually lived with them for a little bit. But go out there, get on the boats, and we're all floating down the river. And we try to stay in a group. And I'm obviously with one of my best friends, and we got a cooler. It's got beer in it, ice beer, and 2 milk jugs. Well, they're water jugs, but they're a gallon jugs of moonshine, or apple pie moonshine that we made. It's not moonshine at all. It's just Everclear, and we boiled it up and put cinnamon sticks in it and everything, and just we made this really good cinnamon apple pie type drink, and we're floating down the river, and we're just getting fucked up. We're pulling off on the side all the time, partying with all the people on the river. We're drinking everything, and we drink everything that we have except for one of those jugs of moonshine. And then eventually, we're hammered drunk, floating down the river. We're hungry. The people with the food are gone. Anybody that we know is gone. And then you got the fucking nerds out there that got all the gear and stuff, and they're trying to take the float seriously and everything, and they don't want anything to do with you with the fucking beer bottle cap on, and just getting drunk and having a good time or whatever. We're not harassing anybody, but nobody's stopping to help us out. And I don't really blame them, really, but we're so hungry. I think I'm recording again. Let me check. Yes, I am recording again. What was I talking about? Going on float trips with my buddy. We were drinking, and we were on the river, and we lost everybody, and we are just, the only thing we have to consume is another gallon of high alcohol content fucking apple pie moonshine or whatever. And yeah, we just keep getting more and more drunk. No food in our system, and we get down to one of the place where we're supposed to get off. We're supposed to get off the river, and we pull up, and they're like, "The bus already left, guys, and there's not another bus coming." We're like, "Oh no!" They're like, "So you're gonna have to go to the next campsite and try to catch the bus over there, because they're they usually have somebody over there." So we're like, all right. So we actually are now just paddling as fast as we can to get down to the next site before they close. And we get down there, and yeah, there's people there, but they're like, yeah, I mean, we're not going to get the bus up and going for 2 people. We're like, fuck. They're like, you can keep going and you'll actually get up to your campsite where you need to be. It's another couple hours down the river. So it's like getting dark and we're going down the river. Nobody else out here at all. And we get there and they're like, well, we were wondering where the fuck y'all went. I'm like, y'all didn't come look for us. They're like, no, we figured y'all'd show up at some point in time. Like, Jesus. But, that's just how, I mean, that's just how it was. If it was my family, they would have freaking had a search party out. And I'd be like, we're just on the river. Like, not a big deal. Thinking that we died or something. But their family was like, oh, yeah, about time y'all showed up. And, yeah, I was a silly guy. So I went to Salvation Army for, and I wanted to get some overalls for the going out there on the river. So I find a pair of overalls that I fit in, and I grab them, and I'm like, oh, there ain't no zipper on the front, but whatever. And I cut the legs off of them, and then I wore that around there, freaking overall shorts, and I had to cut the dick hole out of them so I could take a leak. And they're like, those are women's. I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, it's got a little flower pattern on the back. I'm like, oh fuck. I wanted to be silly. I didn't want to be silly wearing a women's fucking clothing or whatever. So yeah, I was just a silly guy out there on the river, and brought a lot to the party side of it. Getting hammered, drunk, and everything. Had my buddy's dog with us. Also, his name was Buddy. He was just like a little terrier, short-haired terrier, white and black, and he was just such a good dog. I remember there were some people out there on the river whenever we were getting on the boat. And they're like, "Oh, nice dog. What's his name?" Dog. They're like, "His name's Dog." I'm like, "Yep, his name's Dog." They're like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah. Come here, dog." And he'd come right over to me. They're like, "Oh," I'm like, "Yeah, we don't really name our animal around where we're from." Just fucking with people. And also, I'm like, I don't want I'm just thinking about it. I'm like, I don't want other people knowing, whatever. Yeah, they want to know the dog's name and stuff, but it's like, no, I don't want you to know the name. I don't want you to be able to call the dog over to you. His name's Dog, but he also came to the name Dog. So, oh, oh, got to the hotel early yesterday, like I've already explained, but the parking lot was empty. But but the town was kind of busy. It's like a main highway in front of the hotel and truck stop and everything. Not a big highway. It's just like a 2-lane blacktop highway. These back roads, kind of like these back roads I'm on, they're main roads through town. And it was really busy, and I have to pull and block all traffic to back into the spot where I parked my truck next to the hotel. And it was a pain in the ass. I mean, not really a pain in the ass. I still got backed in there pretty quick, but I usually, just look in your mirrors. There ain't no headlights or anything coming. You can pull and block the whole highway back in there, no problem. I had to wait a while. It was like a busy town all of a sudden. And I'm like, I'm early, but I'm not like super early. This place is busy as hell. But the parking lot was empty of the hotel, and I back in there and I go inside, and there's so many old people, like really old people. I'm like, what the heck is going on? And then I look out one of the windows and I see Christian Tours, and it's a Christian Tours bus line. There's a couple of buses out there. This hotel was popping with old people, and they're everywhere, and they don't know how to use elevators and shit. Oh man! Every time I try to use the elevator, you're just waiting, and you can hear Gladys in the elevator talking and yelling, "This button, you gotta go up there. What floor is it, Jimmy?" And I'm like, "God dang, hurry up!" Of course, I'm on the top floor last night, so every time I get on the elevator, I gotta wait forever for it to come up to the top, and then we stop on every single floor, letting people on. And everybody tries to get off every time the door opens. It's like, we ain't at the bottom yet, Gladys. And, yep, saw the bus driver this morning. He's a cool guy. He was running around with one of them luggage carts collecting everybody's bags. And I'm glad he decided to park where he parked, because I didn't want where I park. I could pull off to the side, but then I'm like in the grass, and I don't want to be up in the hotel's grass. So I just park right in the middle. And I've had other trucks parked there before, and you kind of get blocked in if they pull right in front of you. And it's kind of off the road. So, surprised that bus didn't pull in front of me with limited parking out there. He took up all the parking spots. But, the hotel was full of people. Luckily, they all came in on buses, so the parking lot was still empty. Um, Headed back into town. Getting closer to the main highway. Gonna take it north up to Kansas City. Stop and get some lunch here shortly. And got the kids staying over at Grandma's house tonight, which is nice. Give us a little bit of. The wife really needs some alone time. My son, he goes to school 2 days a week, or daycare 2 days a week. So she gets a little bit of time away from him. He's a wild ass kid. If you don't keep the kids busy with things, but even if you do, they're still wild all the time. But they love him at school. They're like, he's so calm and he listens so well. What? Wrong kid. What are you talking about? Not this one. And then my daughter is younger, and she's still working on trying to talk, and she just whiny, 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 and I don't know. She knows some words, but she's just basically, eh. It's like, oh, Jesus, I love you, baby, but stop with the whining. You're running me ragged with this whining. But she's got a kid 100% of the time. She's watching both or one of the kids. So she is really excited for the kids to go to Grandma's house every time they do. Grandma and Grandpa love to have the kids over. It's good for them to hang out, and gives the wife some time alone. She just needs some time to have no responsibilities. I get it. I'd be the same way. And after spending a week or 2 weeks with them, 100% of the time on vacation, I understand. I think I just saw an armadillo. I think so. Something crawled across the road. Nope, that's not an armadillo. It's another coyote. Or no, that's just a dog. Just a dog running across the road. Kind of shaped like an armadillo. Just passed another truck. Hopefully you don't clip him. That's the worst, is seeing a dog on the side of the road. I hate seeing dogs on the side of the road. Every now and again I'll see a cat out here, but they're probably feral cats. I highly doubt they're like somebody's little fluffy cat, or not fluffy cat, but they're just normal looking cats. See them on the side of the road, all bloated and stuff. I don't really like to see a dead cat, but I don't know. I'm just not a fan of cats. But I'm a huge fan of dogs. So when I see dogs on the side of the road, it's just kind of heartbreaking, especially in the city, because I don't really see too many strays, surprisingly. So every time I see a dog, I assume it's somebody's pet, and it's like, damn it, man, that sucks. Sucks bad. And see coyotes on the side of the road quite often. Don't really have a feeling towards coyotes. I know if they try, I have a couple little dogs, and I'd really fucking hate for a coyote to get a hold of them. That's not a good way to go out. First off. Second off, don't fuck with my dogs. I'll fuck with you. But I've seen some videos of there's this like guy that lives out in a wooded area or something, and he's made friends with coyotes and fox and raccoons and stuff, and he's got his own dog also, and it's just like, oh, that coyote was kind of cool. They kind of nibble and stuff on you, but it's like I don't think. Yeah, 3 coyotes could probably fuck me up, but one coyote, I don't think I'm gonna have a problem with a one coyote. I mean, it'll hurt and they'll fuck me up, but I don't think they're gonna take me down. I had one dog that he could take me down. I didn't think of it for a while. I always thought that I was in control. I'm the alpha in the house, but I had a Great Pyrenees dog, and I loved him so much. He's a little bit younger than my boxer lab that I still have now, and they were both roughly the same age, but every now and again they'd get into little altercations. Nothing too crazy. No, maybe a little bit of blood, but it's usually just a lot of growling and trying to figure out who's the bigger dog. But I'm the bigger dog, and but it was once every year they'd get into something. And then I got, after it happened, after probably 4 years, I ended up taking them in and getting them snipped because I didn't want to snip them. I'm like, I don't want to have to do that. But I went ahead and snipped them to see if that'd chill them out, and it did. They were still basically the same dog. Uh, but, I didn't have an issue with them fighting at all after that until I did. I was playing with a drone outside, and I had my really young son at the time. And I was playing with the drone outside, and I was flying it over the roof of the house and flying it into the backyard. And it was also kind of funny because I had a little RC helicopter that I would run inside the house, and they loved to fucking jump and try to tear up the helicopter. But the drone, I don't know, it was just too much. They hated that drone. They wanted it dead. And I'd always, not always, but this one time I brought it outside to fly it, and the dogs are jumping in the air trying to get it and everything, and I won't let them get it. And I don't know, they just started going at it. The 2 big dogs. So maybe it was my fault. I don't know, but they were going ferocious against each other. Well, it's mainly my bigger Great Pyrenees was ferocious against my boxer lab, and my boxer lab was just kind of like trying to get away. Not really. He was. You could clearly tell he was not the issue. It was the Great Pyrenees that had an issue, and I could not get these fucking dogs apart. I was focusing on getting my son out of the situation, which he wasn't in any danger. At least I didn't think he was. So, but I made sure to get him out. The wife was inside. I'm yelling for her to get my son, to get him inside, so that I can focus on trying to get the dogs apart. And then they're just tearing each other apart, and it's really bad. I finally get them apart in a way I'm not really proud of. I don't really want to talk about it, but I got them apart, and then I take them both inside. I leave one of them outside, and I take the other one inside. Give them a bath. Try to figure out where the wounds are and everything, and there is blood going around and everything. This was the boxer. Take him in, get him a bath, check out all the wounds that he's got, but I'm like, all right, you're gonna be okay. There's nothing super crazy. There are some puncture wounds and some scratches on his head and everything, but not scratches, bite marks all over his head. I take him down into the basement and I put him up in his kennel. And then I bring the other dog inside and I make sure to keep everybody away from him. And I bring it, and he hates baths, but I get him in the bath and I'm showing him that I'm the fucking boss here. You're not going to fucking do that shit to me. I will fuck you up, and give him a bath and leave him in there, go down, get the other dog, put him outside, take that dog, put him down in the kennel. And I'm like, bad dog, you fucked up. And he can tell. He's a puppy. Well, he's not a puppy at this point in time. He's like 8 years old. But he knows he did bad. He does not like the way I'm talking to him. He's got his ears back and his tail tucked, and he's just like, I'm sorry. And so I keep him locked up most of the day. I feed him and I let him out without seeing the other dog at all. So he wasn't really being punished. He probably felt like he was being punished because he's being separated and in his kennel most of the time for 24 hours is what it was. I was like, I'm going to keep him separated for a day, and I would switch him out. So I'd bring him up and make sure he's cool because he also had wounds. One of his paws, the whole nail, root and all, came straight out. So his paw hurt, and I'm trying to think of what I'm gonna need to do with the vet and everything. Um, and I don't remember what it was, and so I'm not 100% sure. But I did call a vet and ask them about it, and they basically said if it's not bleeding, I'm pretty sure you're fine. It's gonna have some irritation and stuff, but it was a whole nail came straight out, and so I decided to bring them back together after a day, and there was definitely some tension in the air, and I kept a close eye on both of them, and my wife was not around, not she was gone for the day somewhere. So there's tension in the air. The dogs are not happy with each other. They're still, I'd catch the Pyrenees showing his teeth a little bit, and I'd nip that in the bud immediately. Hop on him. Hey, I'm the fucking teeth show around here, you bitch. And hold on, I'm backing into this spot over here. So losing a little bit of focus. Um. So, but they were together. They didn't get into any more altercations, so I thought everything was fine. And then my wife comes home, and just like normal, she doesn't like ring the doorbell or anything or knock. She just shows up. She's got a pretty quiet car, so the dogs just start going fucking nuts, and it's normal. They all bark when somebody touches the door, and then they realize who it is, and they calm down. Well, as soon as the barking started, a giant brawl broke out right in the middle of the living room, and we have a baby gate at the top of the stairs to keep the babies from going down and the dogs to go down there also. And I grab my son and I toss him over the. Well, I don't toss him. I don't throw my son. I mean, I have thrown my son, but not in a bad way. I toss him over the fence, the baby gate, to my wife as the dogs are just going fucking ham inside the living room. And again, I have to separate them, and it's not easy, but I do it in a way that I also don't want to talk about. But I get them separated, and again, I put one of them out. I get them separated, get one down the hall, and kind of block off the hallway a little bit. Or I think I let the boxer, the nice dog, down the stairs with my wife and son, and I closed the gate, and then I got this fucking dog. He's still fucking raging, trying to get down there and shit. And I'm like, fuck. I fucking grab him in a headlock and I yank him outside, and I just basically throw him outside. He's like 130 pounds. He's like a big fucking dog. But I manhandle his ass down the stairs. Luckily, his aggression wasn't at all towards me. Um, or else I don't know if I could handle that. Like, it really made me feel a lot smaller than I really am, you know, trying to keep this ferocious dog from fucking getting over there. And I toss him outside and I slam the door, and then I bring the other dog in and I clean him up again, put him down there. And then I just, the wife and my son and everybody are there, and everybody's freaked out, and I just break down because I know what I have to do. I know that this dog can't stay around here. I don't know what's triggering this dog to get as ferocious as he is. I've had him since he was a puppy. I know everything that he's been through. Um, so it's just like, I don't know what it is. Yeah, maybe there's some training I could do or something, but I don't want to risk it. What if this dog's ferocious attitude goes towards my wife when I'm at work, goes towards my son when he's playing with toys on the floor? And he's a great dog with kids. Like, the kids can pull his ears and his tail and lay on him and jump on him, and he loves it. Like, that's what he's like a big teddy bear. Uh, but something's triggering this dog, and I don't want to find out the hard way on what it is. So yeah, I break down and I'm crying and everything, just like so upset that this is going on. So call up a local shelter, and they're able to put him down for me the next day. Um, I love that dog so much, but the risk was too high, and I didn't want to give him to another family, and with them not knowing, and him not being used to another family. I don't know. I don't want something bad to happen over there. And I don't want to put him in a shelter. That doesn't work out very well for dogs, especially older, bigger dogs. And, with the history that he had, it's just, I had to do it. And, it's a quick, painless method I gave him a wonderful last day. Just me and him. I took him out to a lake and we hung out there, and I gave him a bunch of cheeseburgers and other shit he's not supposed to have. Before we went to the place, I took him home and I grilled him up a steak. I seasoned it, grilled it, made him a fat fucking steak, and let him eat the whole damn thing. He was having a great time. He loved it. Giving him plenty of pets and hugs and stuff, because it was really emotional knowing what's gonna happen. Took him to the place, and yep, he got put down, and it happened a lot faster than I expected it to. Uh, but I would have, if I could change anything about that whole process at that point in time, I would have tried to figure out a way to do it at home or have somebody come to the house to do it, because he was not comfortable in the vet. He knew something wasn't right, but even if he was just going there to get his normal shots, he's freaking out. Like, he didn't like being there. But yep, had him put down, went back home, and things really, they're normal now since it's been 2 years now. But things are things are getting normal. They It was really weird the way the dogs. Maybe it's just in my own head, but I felt like the dogs were looking at me, knowing what I did or something. So it was kind of sketchy, not sketchy, just a bad situation. Um, yeah, and I really hate that. This is the party episode, and I bring y'all down right at the fucking end. At least I brought myself down. I don't know. It's just how the story went. I don't even know how we got on that. I think we started talking about a dog. Yep, start talking about dogs, and then that's what I think about. But I got 3 lovely dogs right now. Got a Yorkie Chihuahua. He's a fucking annoying dog, but I love him. He's such a good dog. Then I got one that's supposed to be a pug, much younger. The wife wanted a baby, and we didn't think we were able to have babies, so we got ourselves a puppy. And this was supposed to be a pug, like a little pug mixture type dog. It doesn't look like a pug at all to me. When it's a puppy, like 8 weeks old, you can't really tell what it's going to exactly look like. So we had hopes, and then no. They showed us the mom and the dad, and um, no, that's not what the dog looks like at all. Now it looks like a tater tot. Looks straight up, same color, a little overcooked tater tot. And she's thick and short. She looks like kind of like a dachshund mixed with just a regular terrier. Um, and yeah, she's a love sponge. She likes to just get up on you. And she does this little paw thing. She gets up on your chest and she scratches your chest, and kind of hurts actually, but it's cute. And then I got my big boy, my good boy. He's such a good dog. I love him so much. He's Boxer Lab. I got him Thanksgiving night 2013, and he was like 6 weeks old at the time. And it was one of my families. They had puppies, so went over there, and they're like, "Yeah, the puppies are. If you want one, you can have one." So I went over there and opened up the barn, and all these puppies are running over, and I wanted a boy dog, so I flipped all of them over until I found a boy. And I said, "All right, here we go." And I just grabbed the first one I could find. I didn't really have a preference. I didn't know what I was looking for, so just grabbed the puppy, took it home, and loved him ever since. The canopy on this fuel island is moving so much. It is moving. It is just waving in the wind. Oh my God. I feel like he could fall at any point in time. Would that be insane if it did? I mean, because we're in the middle of Kansas at this point. I already made it through Oklahoma. Well, not in the middle of Kansas. We are at the very bottom of Kansas. Um, and this fuel island is just waving in the wind. Anyways, yeah, I'll promote my dog a little bit right now because I love him a lot. He's been with me through quite a bit. So yeah, he just had his birthday. Was actually like yesterday or the day before. It was right around there, I think. Because if I got him Thanksgiving night at 6 weeks old, uh, subtract 6 weeks from Thanksgiving. Yeah, something like, I don't know. I have it saved in my phone. I just picked a day. So October, I think it's October 10th or 11th is when I put it in my uh, calendar as his birthday. 2013. So he is 10 years old now. Mm-mm-mm. And he did. I mean, I don't know what dogs are really supposed to look like at 10, but he looks the same as he looked at 5. He looks exactly the same. He's I don't overfeed him. I don't underfeed him. He gets a nice big bowl of food every day, and then he gets some table scraps if he's a good boy, which he always is. He's always a good boy. And so he's kind of he's fit looking, just a boxer lab. Um, he doesn't know how to cuddle. He never learned how to cuddle very well. You lay down on the ground, he'll lay down next to you, but then as soon as you start petting him, he wants to stand up and then lay on top of you and stuff. But he's not alpha whatsoever. He knows he knows he's not. Um, and yeah, he just learned really quickly everything: sit, stay, lay down, shake. He'll search the house. We used to live in kind of some weirder places, and just for the fun of it, one day, what's that? What's that? What's that? And you say that, and he'll run around looking for whatever that might be. But whenever I do that voice, he knows that I think there's something in there, and he'll go search all the rooms, and he'll sound ferocious doing it. But yeah, he's a big wuss. He acts all ferocious, but once you get up to him, he's like, "Oh, pet me, pet me, pet me." And yep, he's a good boy. I love him so much. I wish I could spend more time with him, or even take him out on the road with me sometimes. And I probably could. I could probably get away with that, but I don't want to keep my big ass dog locked up in a single cab truck and then have to find somewhere to stay. So, anyways, now we can end the episode. You all keep all 18 down and have a wonderful day. Friday the 13th. Enjoy it.